A cube with edges 4 centimeters long is inscribed in a sphere as shown. What is the radius of the sphere in centimeters? So to figure this out, I'm going to go from this angle to this angle. I'm going from one part of the cube across, hitting the center of the sphere, which is like a basketball or baseball, and hitting the opposite side of the sphere. This is the diameter of this sphere or ball shape. And I'm going to create a right triangle here, going across this bottom and across here and then coming up. And this will be the right triangle I work with. Now the only given information I know for sure at this point is that all sides of the cube are 4. So this length of the cube, or the height of the cube, is 4 centimeters. Now to figure out this bottom section, because then I will use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. To figure out this bottom section, let's look right here. I actually have 2 triangles here. So there's one triangle, I can move it up, and another triangle. And down here again, I know that these 2 sides are both 4. And I know that this line that goes straight across here is going to take these right angles and it's going to cut them in half, which means it's 45, 45. So I'm going to take one of these triangles. If this is 45, because this line cuts this angle in half, it's a 90-degree angle, it cuts it in half. So if this is 45, it represents this angle right here. That means this has to also be 45. The sum of these 2 angles equals 90. What you do have to have memorized about a 45, 45, 90-degree triangle is this. Here's your correlation. This is A, and this is A radical 2. But we already know this length is 4. We already know this length right here is 4. Because it says all edges of the cube are 4. So 4 is your hypotenuse, and I can set it equal to A radical 2. And now if I solve for A, I'm going to divide by radical 2, divide by radical 2, and I get A equals 4 radical 2. Remember, we don't want to leave our final answers to the radical on the bottom. So to rationalize this, I take whatever this is, value, and I write it again on top and the bottom. This doesn't change the value of this fraction. I have 4 times radical 2. 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. When I reduce this, I end up with A equaling 2 square roots of 2. Now again, what is A? A is the length here of the 2 legs of this triangle. So this length and this length and this length are all 2 radical 2. 2 radical 2. We're going for the base of this large rectangle. So this base right here is 2 radical 2, and this length is 2 radical 2. So I have 2 groups of 2 radical 2. Come off to the side. 2 radical 2 plus 2 radical 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 radical 2. This is 4 radical 2. 4 radical 2. Okay, so how do I figure out the hypotenuse? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to call A my 4, so 4 squared plus 4 radical 2 squared equals c squared. 4 squared is 16. Remember, this means to write it twice. 4 radical 2 times 4 radical 2 equals c squared. 4 times 4 is 16. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. And now I have 32 plus 16. 32 plus 16 is 48. Excuse me. Take the square root. Remember, I'm left with two lengths, or excuse me, 2 answers for C, both a positive and a negative. But when we talk about lengths, we'll only use a positive to describe a length ever. Okay, now let's take and let's simplify this and try to find out which answer does it equal. So the largest perfect square that goes into 48 is 16. Square root of 16 times the square root of 3. 16 times 3 is 48. The square root of 16 is 4 times the square root of c. So that is going to be this length right here. 4 square roots of 3. Now that's this entire length. If we go back up to the problem, it asks for the radius. So the diameter is 4 times the square root of 3. The radius, remember, is only half the diameter. So if I take this amount and I divide it by 2, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 radical 3. Correct answer is F.